Kevin Williams, thanks for joining us on the Attraction Pros COVID-19 video series. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for inviting me along to this. And obviously, how are you guys doing?
We're doing okay. We're hanging in there, just as the rest of the industry is. Thanks for asking. Just trying to keep up to date with clients and keep providing content and resources for the industry
And washing our hands.
and washing our hands. So Kevin, you mentioned to us that you are working with clients on a number of things regarding the LBE location-based entertainment space and everything going on with VR. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on during this time?
Well, we had already been working on a number of projects with certain clients who wanted to position themselves for what was going to be expected changing times during 2020. A lot of us in the corporate industries were expecting there to be some financial upheavals. Some people were worried that the bubble regarding certain technology trends was going to burst, as well as just the general upheaval of an industry that's been constantly on the rise. Of location-based entertainment and family entertainment centers business has been incredibly popular for at least 8-9 years, and so many people were playing safe hunches. We didn't expect that the gods were going to make this such a drastic change in the structure of the business, but now most of my clients are pointing towards looking at what the post-pandemic industry is going to represent, and the opportunities, sadly, wherever there is lows, there are highs, and the opportunities for some companies, mergers, acquisitions, refinancing, and pure survival have been on the cards for this type of stuff that I've been working on.
So you mentioned that you had anticipated some sort of economic decline. So coronavirus aside, what was it that you were expecting that the industry was going to encounter? And was it on a global scale or was it regionally focused?
Yeah, many financial experts have charted that 2020 was going to be a year of financial upheaval. American elections, European elections, the Brexit fallout, situations that were happening in China's financial markets had got people jittery. It didn't mean that people knew that something was going to happen. It's just that when you see those kind of situations, those perfect storms on the horizon, you start to prepare yourself. But the main thing was that a lot of companies felt that the out-of-home entertainment market was undervalued and was due for a bit of a shake-up. And that shake-up had already started just as we were coming into IALPA last year. We'd seen a number of companies restructure, change executives. And so it was kind of on track for something happening in June.
So Kevin, I'm curious, what are you seeing some of your clients going through right now, whether they anticipated the upheaval or, it's hit them, by a little surprise? What are you seeing them kind of going through right now?
Well, number one is ensuring that the structure of their operation is able to weather the storm. So it's the addressing of the financials that they're putting out. They're making sure that their staff and their families are secure, safe, and understand what the local government issues are. For companies that are international, they have the extra hurdle of having to deal with each different countries' interpretation of the current situations. If they're operators, the lockdown, most of them were pretty prepared for the lockdown, and it's now the furloughing of their staff that has been focusing them, and also the argument about when, hopefully, some of us are speculating end of April, beginning of June, when we start to see the first green shoots leading towards a reopening, how long it's going to take to relaunch, or if it is a relaunch or a total redevelopment. And that's something we can talk about maybe later on. But some companies are looking not just at coming back as normal, but looking at a new normal. That is a phrase that you'll be hearing a lot of people use. And then, of course, there's the arguments about what will the audience post-pandemic be looking for? Are we looking at a swine flu, Ebola kind of bounce back, a 9/11 kind of bounce back, or are we going to be seeing a total root and branch change as was seen with the Spanish flu? Sadly, I've been having to do a lot of research into black swan events.
And what has that research told you? What do you think the post-pandemic landscape will look like?
If I knew that, I'd be sitting on a beach earning 20%. All we can do is use history as a marker, but understand that history is a bad mistress and she teaches us not everything. So if we look at what happened with the Spanish flu, when that ended in 1920, we saw an amazing explosion of interest for social engagement. The world fairs blossomed, the county fairs, and as well as the birth of the first kino and arcade cinemas took place, partly fueled by technology. So technology that had been deployed in World War I and has started to gain ground, started to fuel society that was emerging from that global pandemic. And so electricity and mass communication and mass transportation really did fuel the development of the cinema, fun fair, arcade, traveling fair approach. After 9/11, we saw people coming out of stir craziness that was only a matter of days rather than weeks and months, and they were hungry for entertainment. Escapism seems to be the key factor that shapes all of the experiences of Black Swan events.
So what parallels do you see, from 1918 to what's going on today when you talk about things like people going out to, to the movies, to the cinema and the fairs and more amusement and social gatherings? Do you see that people, I've been hearing a lot of the optimists in the industry.
Of course. And I am an optimist. I have to be. I am a consultant.
So right.
You give me lemonade, I work out how much sugar is needed to turn it into lemonade.
Okay. So then by that mindset, then we can anticipate long lines out the doors at the gates and turnstiles from
No. We can't. Never always, just because you build it, they will come argument is not going to fly, no matter be it a pandemic or building a new concept. What we will see is the audience will vote with their feet, but will be encouraged. They have not received the marketing and the promotion of our industry. That has gone away. We have gone into hibernation. And they have many things, many things that they can use the limited amount of disposable income they're going to have post-pandemic. And it is our job now to make sure that we still offer a unified voice to the audience, that we are still here and that we offer something that they want. And, I'm very interested to see how the consumer games industry is going to be dealing with the post-pandemic market, because we all can see that everybody's at home and a large percentage of the people at home are playing video games. We've seen a phenomenal sale of the Nintendo Switch. You can't get your hands on one for love nor money anywhere because they're all sold out, because that seems to be the go-to electronic object of the pandemic. Next to VR. VR's also been doing very well during this pandemic, but also has booze. Lots of alcohol has also been doing very well. And other than Alcoholics Anonymous, as people crawl out of their forced enclosures, I think some people are going to be sick of playing home games. And that higher level of escapism that is offered by the out-of-home entertainment industry could be at a premium. Now, will that be electronic out-of-home entertainment? Will that be the physical? Will the bouncy castles come back? One thing that we are definitely sure of, we were going into this pandemic with a situation where ticket sales in the cinema were going down. And those guys were hurting. And as we've seen with the recent streaming of certain films that had been scheduled for box office launch, as well as the pushing back of certain releases, James Bond's latest outing pushed to November. The big question for a lot of us in the entertainment industry is, will cinemas bounce back?
Interesting. That's a good question. So from a VR standpoint, what do you anticipate, the expectation or kind of just what consumer perceptions will be? Because if they are using VR at home, they've got their headset, they own it, they're cleaning it. But if they're going to an FEC or some sort of VR type of experience, now there's this added concern of cleanliness and health and sanitation. So what should operators do to alleviate some of that concern, knowing that that's now part of our competition?
A friend of mine who's a fellow consultant uses the phrase the pantomime of hygiene. It was sort of like the TSA search at the airports. Remember airports? No. The situation is hygiene has always been an important part of the entertainment industry and the cinema industry. Look at the problems that the cinema industry has had to go through to deal with 3D glasses. Mm-hmm. You look at the bowling industry, the cleaning of shoes to deal with the smell, the laser tag industry, the cleaning of the vests to ensure a high level of audience engagement and enjoyment from the experiences. Cleaning hardware, cleaning facilities is our necessity, is our day-to-day business. And what will happen is the tools and the technology that we deploy for the entertainment experience will have to be seen to be squeaky clean and of a much higher level of hygiene than previously, because everybody is a little bit touchy about cleanliness. Now, regarding head-mounted displays, people were always touchy about the cleanliness of head-mounted display, even before this. And I had certain clients saying that this is the end of VR, it won't survive. I think if you watch all of the YouTube videos showing Half-Life Alyx at the moment and how that is one of the largest streamed games in the VR genre at the moment, I think there's a hunger for VR. Not everybody has the deep pockets to be able to buy the equipment that is needed to be able, especially to play Half-Life Alyx. So don't be so sure that VR is going to be an issue for the post-pandemic market. What is the big issue is how we move forward, how we promote what we offer, and how we promote the escapism that is unique to our industry.
Kevin, I'm curious, what do you think of the places that are doing sort of the virtual, the behind the scenes, tours right now? Like, I think a lot of zoos, they still have people that are working with the animals. So they're taking the opportunity to do some behind the scenes type of, here's the zookeeper with the turtle or the lion or whatever it is. Is that working to kind of help us stay top of mind with our guests? Pretty
scary that they've got a lion at home. Only joking. Only joking.
That's not a work from home position.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, here's the panda.
Tiger King, so nothing is strange anymore after watching that.
We've been seeing remote tourism take off. We've been seeing remote behind the scenes experiences. It was popular a couple of years ago to do 360 videos of unique locations. Virtual reality, for those that have access to virtual reality systems that can look at these 360 videos, it works well. It is another tool to get the message out, and it talks to an audience that is at home. So I would be interested to see how many people are actually watching a lot of these 360 videos using virtual reality technology, and how many of them are doing what I normally do and watch them on YouTube using their mouse to scroll around and look at the 360 environment. We have seen an amazing explosion in virtual gigs. There's a number of websites now that offer you the chance of getting a 360 view from the front of an audience at a virtual performance or a live performance where there's no audience, just virtual cameras. We have the esports sector now going through an unusual recreation where we're seeing virtual sports now being turned into mainline sports, as we saw with NASCAR. NASCAR was not able to hold their last event, but they held an e-NASCAR event using iRacing simulators and network gaming with the drivers and guest drivers sitting in virtual cars. And it generated huge viewing numbers to the point that Fox Sport has now brought those guys up to be able to offer virtual sports as a service in this non-live sport environment.
So, but then if you very that, and then combined with the people that want to get out of the home, how do we now blend that to make sure that FECs or that location-based entertainment doesn't become obsolete?
Well, it's something that we have to do on a day-to-day basis. We cannot sit on our laurels. We are an industry that should constantly evolve. You know, I'm going to say something pretty controversial here. One of my biggest problems about the explosion in immersive technology is that it had been held back, that there were certain gatekeepers that were wanting to keep the status quo the way it was. And it took forever for the amusement industry and for some in the theme park industry to embrace immersive technology. And I don't just mean head-mounted displays. I mean digital interactive entertainment that immersed the guest, the player, in the experience. And we were seeing a lot of pushback even at this point. IALPA last year, I think, was the first of the IALPAs where, you know, certain of the old guard were going, okay, yeah, all right, maybe this weird technology you've been talking about for the last 10 years, Kevin, maybe it has something to play. Now, I totally understand. I'm sure at some point in the future, I'm going to be that old curmudgeon with my stick saying, get off my lawn regarding new technology. You know, oh, this plug it into your head, microwave stuff. Oh, you know, yeah. I am sure someone will be able to play one of these videos back to me then, showing me what it is like now. But one of the biggest fundamental things we're going to see from the post-virus era of this industry is the removal of certain of the gate guards, certain of the blocks, and we are now going to seriously look at fundamentals, which is what does this technology bring to the table and push us forward? Because the more we are, as you've said, like what you can do at home. You know, I have a phrase at KWP that I like, a mantra that I like to throw out constantly: unachievable at home. If we're developing something or working with a client that can do something that is quite easy to do at home, as well as do in their facility concept, why the hell would anybody want to leave their comfortable couch with their internet, with their fantastic restaurant called The Kitchen, with all of their multi-screen capability? We can't offer an unachievable at-home experience. We should be just offering it at home.
And that's going to be the biggest thing once operators start to reopen, of saying, okay, during this time, society proved to itself the amount of things that were achievable at home, right? I mean, everything that from Zoom meetings to just everything that people were able to do without leaving their house, including the virtual tours. And then now that once everything kind of switches back on, that's going to be what I anticipate from a marketing standpoint, the message that operators are going to need to say, hey, come here because you can't do this at home. You did so much while you were at home. We found so much that we were able to satisfy the necessities of life of without leaving the house or without social gatherings. And now we are back, but this is what you remember what you couldn't do during that time that you wanted to do. Now come back and do it again.
That is exactly it. What you couldn't do, strangle your family. No. What you couldn't do, but also escapism. It is not just the offering an experience, but offering an experience that people want to enjoy. It's amazing if you look at the 1918 pandemic, how much horror and scare became, because people have been living with such brutal situations, the First World War as well as the pandemic. They were looking for, exhilaration. I am alive. I want to enjoy that. I expect there to be extreme bungee jumping and catching, axe throwing being a major component of all of this. But at the same way, I expect people to be wowed by some of the digital immersive entertainment that we will be able to offer when some of the shackles have taken off, when some of the gate guards have been gone, and when some of the purses are loosened. Because I have certain clients as well as colleagues that are saying to me, no one's going to have any money leaving their lockdown. They're not going to have any money for entertainment. I said, during 9/11, after 9/11 happened, when all the belts were tight, how big was the birthday party for your daughter? He goes, it was relatively. Yeah, there are some things that you will constantly invest in. It is our job in our industry to maybe drop our prices and be more cost effective or more cost aware of how much people are prepared to spend. And there's also a nice little twist in the tail here. Merger and acquisition. there is a strong possibility that we're going to see established names fighting together or joining together to defend themselves against the problems of the post market, being able to still offer a high level of entertainment, but being aware that, you know, they're not as rich as they used to be. And we've seen that kind of thing now with the news that we're getting from Disney, and we're definitely seeing this from the news that we're getting from Asia, that a lot of the thinking is now that, that, you know, they're circling the wagons to protect their entertainment offering while thinking of how they're going to be promoting their entertainment offering against their competition.
And, you know, it's interesting, Kevin. I think you're seeing that in concept right now, where a lot of people are saying, hey, we're in this together, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of the beginning of the mindset, and then putting boots on the ground to figure out, all right, now what do we need to do? Even if we've been competitors in the marketplace, how do we come together now to figure out how to make sure that we all stay afloat, if you will?
Society is a great leveler.
Yeah. So I'd like to switch gears just for a second, because I know you wanted to talk also a little bit about, you know, how do we deal with this? What are some of those mental health things that we have to be aware of as we're stuck in our homes and, you know, playing video games potentially? So what are some of your tips for people to kind of stay normal, if you will?
Well, it's retrospective. I've been a loner for most of my career. I'm one of those nasty bachelors. Funny enough, soon not to be a nasty bachelor, but you know, my parents made it very clear to me that I should have a vocation rather than a job, and they should say that, you know, you should jump out of bed wanting to really do what you do, and you really should be putting something back. And so the first thing regarding mental health during this lockdown is looking inside yourself, looking in the mirror, and asking the questions, am I doing what I really want to do? Have I been focusing on the things that are really important to me? The next thing to consider, obviously, is if you are in the position to control the operation, if you're in the position to control your division, is that you're going to say, what is the division going to be like going forward? What are all those things I would love to have changed if I'd had more money, if I'd had more time, if I'd had more opportunity? And then that's the next thing, which is, are we fit for purpose? Because everybody's thinking this now. Not every company is hiring consultants like myself to give them the satellite view of their operation and their competitors. It's easy enough for other companies to use the staff, the great staff that they have in place, to start doing that retrospective navel gazing. And, you know, fundamentally, there are some companies out there that once they do that navel gazing, they will get a better idea of where they fit in the post-pandemic market, rather than just hoping that in a couple of months' time, they're going to open the doors, brush everything down, polish all the surfaces, turn the electrics on, and everything will be normal. This is the new normal now, people. Embrace it.
Right.
So I think some of the similar features in your points there was really looking forward, right? Don't let yourself get caught looking back or being stagnant, but absolutely look forward.
That's the job for the accountants, to look back.
Kevin, any final thoughts or any additional insight or recommendations for operators as we come out of this?
No snap decisions. Try and create a brand and an entertainment experience rather than just looking at a product. And also keep your ears to the ground regarding the first examples to help shape the thinking. I've been doing a lot of research into what's been happening in China with the tentative openings of some of the first entertainment facilities and seeing what the reaction is there. Obviously, that's the Asian market, but it's helping shape a little bit of which pots that I go to select future directions. But there's one thing that I really want to say, and that is a big heartfelt thank you to everybody that has stayed either in the hospital sector, in the transportation sector, in the electricity, power, water, sewage, everyone that has put themselves towards allowing me to be comfortable at home, all of us comfortable at home, and to break this curve on this dreaded problem. I offer a heartfelt thanks. And I hope that everybody watching this is calm, happy, and safe. That's all. And that goes to you too, guys, as well, please.
And you as well, Kevin. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Kevin, just if people want to get a hold of you after seeing this, where would you send them to get a hold of you?
Oh, the pitchforks and the burning, yeah, all the gatekeepers running after me with the sharpened objects. No, if you need to get in contact with me, the best way to do this is always email. That's kwp@thestingerreport.com. And if you type in Stinger Report into Facebook or into our friends at LinkedIn, you'll usually get to me. If you have any problems at all, I'm sure you guys can point them to my direct contact detail.
Will do. Excellent. Kevin Williams, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.